Puss in Boots: The origins of the tale. The story of Puss in Boots is a European fairy tale with deep roots in folklore. The most famous version was written by French author Charles Perrault and published in 1697 in his collection Histoires ou contes du temps passé, stories or tales from times past, also known as Mother Goose Tales. However, similar stories of clever animals aiding their masters can be found in older traditions across Europe, dating back to Italian and other folk sources. Perrault's version became the most popular, and it's the one most often retold today. Now, let me tell you the story of Puss in Boots. The story of Puss in Boots. Once upon a time, there was a miller who had 3 sons. When the miller passed away, his modest estate was divided among his sons. The eldest received the mill, the second got the donkey, and the youngest, much to his disappointment, was left with nothing but the family cat. The youngest son, feeling unlucky and sorry for himself, sighed, "What can I do with just a cat? I'll surely starve." But the cat, overhearing his master, looked up at him with bright, intelligent eyes and spoke, much to the young man's surprise. "Do not worry, master," said the cat. "Give me a bag and a pair of boots, and I will make your fortune." Though the youngest son was skeptical, he decided to trust the cat. He gave him what he asked for, a fine bag and a pair of sturdy boots, which the cat put on immediately. Now looking quite dignified, Puss set out to carry out his plan. The clever cat went to a field where he knew there were many rabbits. He set his bag on the ground, filled it with fresh vegetables, and lay in wait. Soon enough, a curious rabbit hopped into the bag, and Puss quickly pulled the string tight, trapping the rabbit inside. He proudly took the rabbit to the king's palace. Arriving at the palace, Puss bowed low before the king and said, "Your Majesty, I bring you a gift from my master, the Marquis of Carabas." In truth, his master had no such title, but the cat had a plan in mind. The king, pleased with the gift, accepted it graciously. The next day, Puss caught 2 partridges in the same clever way and took them to the king, again saying they were a gift from the Marquis of Carabas. This continued for several weeks, and the king began to grow fond of the supposed Marquis, though he had never met him. One day, the cat learned that the king and his daughter, the princess, were planning to take a carriage ride along the river. Puss hurried back to his master. "Master," he said, "if you do as I say, your fortune is made. All you must do is bathe in the river when the king passes by, and leave the rest to me." Though confused, the young man trusted his cat. He went to the river and waded into the water. As soon as the king's carriage approached, Puss began to shout, "Help! Help! My master, the Marquis of Carabas, is drowning." Hearing the cries for help, the king immediately ordered his servants to rescue the young man from the river. The cat explained, "While my master was bathing, some thieves stole his clothes." In reality, Puss had hidden his master's clothes under a rock. The king, eager to help, ordered his servants to fetch fine clothes from the palace, and soon, the young man was dressed like a nobleman. The king, impressed by the young man's appearance and grateful for the many gifts he had received from the Marquis of Carabas, invited him to ride in his carriage. The princess, who had never seen such a handsome young man, was instantly charmed. As they rode along, the clever Puss ran ahead of the carriage. He came to a large field where farmers were working, and he called out, "Good people, if anyone asks, tell them this land belongs to the Marquis of Carabas, or you will be chopped into little pieces." Soon, the king's carriage passed by, and the king leaned out of the window to ask the farmers, "Who owns this land?" The frightened farmers, remembering the cat's threat, replied in unison, "It belongs to the Marquis of Carabas, Your Majesty." Puss continued to run ahead, giving the same instructions to all the workers in the surrounding fields. The king was amazed at the vast wealth of the Marquis of Carabas, for everywhere they went, the people claimed that the land belonged to him. Finally, Puss arrived at a grand castle owned by a powerful ogre, known for his great wealth and magic. Puss boldly entered the castle and asked to see the ogre. The ogre, curious about the talking cat, allowed him inside. "I have heard that you possess great magical powers," said Puss. "It is said you can transform yourself into any creature you desire. For example, you could become a lion if you wished." The ogre, proud of his abilities, immediately transformed into a ferocious lion, letting out a terrifying roar. Puss, however, was not frightened. "Impressive," said Puss, "but surely you cannot become something as small as a mouse. That would be far too difficult for one of your size and strength." Angered by the cat's doubt, the ogre quickly transformed into a tiny mouse. Seeing his chance, Puss pounced on the mouse and gobbled him up in a single bite. With the ogre gone, the castle now belonged to Puss and his master. When the king's carriage arrived at the castle, Puss stood proudly at the gates and announced, "Welcome to the castle of my master, the Marquis of Carabas." The king, amazed by the wealth and grandeur of the castle, invited the young man to marry his daughter, the princess. The young man, still in disbelief at his good fortune, gladly accepted. They were married that very day, and the clever cat, Puss in Boots, became the trusted companion of the new Marquis of Carabas. Thanks to the wit and cunning of Puss, the once poor miller's son became a wealthy nobleman, and they all lived happily ever after. And so ends the tale of Puss in Boots, a story that reminds us that intelligence, loyalty, and boldness can lead to great fortune, even for the most unlikely of heroes.